So yeah, we've come to the conclusion that we're going to have to hunker down for the night. But before we do that, we want to try to get our bearings. We got a little bit of sunlight left. So what I'm going to be looking for right now is white pines. They're easy to climb, and they're the most abundant pine out here.
All right, so we've had minimal luck finding a decent size, tall, living white pine. So what we did find was a poplar, which is not the most ideal because the limbs kind of break erratically on their own, but that's the same thing with pine. So I want to convey this, just because, you know, we're looking for white pine doesn't mean we should pass up on every other option. Just starting out with the best options is really smart, and white pine is what we're looking for, but we did find this poplar, very kind of unique poplar, the way it's growing. But that is also very climbable, and we're gonna go ahead and use that because it'll work. Okay, so we've been looking for a white pine, no luck, but we did find this kind of unusual poplar, which we're gonna go ahead and ascend. But before I ascend it, I wanna cover a couple topics. One, we have poison ivy here. I'm not responsive to poison ivy, so it doesn't really bother me, but I'm still gonna try to avoid it because I've never actually like dug into it. And for anyone else, Dave will go over in a minute how to identify this. But tree looks in good condition. We knocked on it, sounds like good condition. But before I ascend it, I wanna think about a couple things. Right now it's getting somewhat warm, so I'm probably gonna work up a sweat pretty quick. Thinking if I have to bed down for the night here, which is the plan, I don't wanna go to bed in a soaking wet t-shirt with sweat. So one, I'm gonna take my t-shirt off. Two, my jacket, just so I have full range of motion. And I'm climbing a tree 20, 30 feet above the earth. I want, again, everything on my side. I don't want to be refrained or restrained with my attire. If I have to make a desperate leap, I want everything on my side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my jacket off, my shirt off, so I don't sweat all over it, and start ascending. Jacket, hat.
A few things that you want to look for. All right, Will dabbled on it for a second. Here we got poison ivy. You got all those fine hairs coming off of it. All right,
Poplar.
poplar.
That's actually you want to record up here? Let's talk about, yeah. So very little weight on that poplar branch. Kind of saw it coming, so I was ready for it. But that's how delicate it is. More than I thought.
Yeah, and that's a poplar is one of the other widow makers. It tends to shed its branches. You guys see that knob right here, right there. That's because poplar naturally sheds its branches. So what Will's doing now, he's trying to get this vantage point, right? So he's looking for the white tops of the sycamores, which will lead us to a water source, which we can use to effect self-rescue. You guys may have heard me and Will talk about other things, you know, how to identify things in the winter, you know, and the importance of it. One of the things that we assessed, and some people may not consider this a survival skill, but it is, little details. If you look up here on this tulip poplar, you can see that it has flowers from last season. That alone tells me that this is a healthy tree and it is safe for Will to climb. Will is going to climb the tree and get his bearings. What we did here, I scraped away the top cover so I have a darker background, and I got whitish rocks and I laid them out in a linear pattern. You could do this with white wood. What this really does is when Will's up there in the tree climbing, it gives him something that he can see from up there, so it's a reference point. This doesn't have to be north, south, whatever. It's just a straight line. So when he's talking to me down on the ground, hey, there's some lights about 15 degrees to the right. Or there's some sycamores 20 degrees to the left, which tells me that there's a water source there. Again, it's just a reference point that he can see from up in the tree.
So there's a pile of rocks. Pretty simple. So
now, if you notice, as he's climbing, he's keeping his feet towards the trunk as much as possible. That's the strongest part of the branch right there.
All right, so climbed up pretty 30 feet or so. So here's a few things I'm looking for. I'm looking for civilization, roads, lights, rivers. We can use a river to navigate. pretty much any sign of human life and water. Because if we're not getting out of here, which we know we're not tonight, I'm looking for anything that has somewhat of a white top. That's going to be sycamore. Sycamore only grows very close to water. So if we can find sycamore, 1, we have water to drink. 2, there's probably fish there. 3, other wildlife goes there for water. So it's a good place to gather animals for food. But also we can follow the water downstream to civilization. It'd be really hard to tell from here. But over there, you can barely see it. It's gonna be really hard to see on camera. But some of these trees have a kind of a whitish appearance, which tells me there's gonna be water over there. We'll get a closer view at that if that is correct. It is correct because I can see the sycamores. And we're gonna go probably try to set up site near the sycamores, which is near water. So the sycamores that I've seen are pretty much that direction. So I'm gonna communicate with Dave. Hey man, we need to go, 10 degrees to the left of those rocks.
You see any sycamores, Will?
Yeah, I got some, what's this stone? About 10 degrees left of our rock pile.
Right.
Actually, while I'm up here, in case we are going to be here long term, this old man's beard. Somewhat easy to find, but not in large quantities. This is a great antimicrobial element, plant, fungus. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not the plant guy. I just know we can use this. It is edible. It is medicinal. So while I'm up here, yeah, all this, old man's beard. And I don't plan on climbing trees while in this situation. So while I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of this. So we can use those to pack wounds. Helps keep things healthy and clean. So honestly, there's more information on it than I could probably ever remember and put on one video. But it is a good thing. It's very useful. It's medicinal. Yeah, don't pass it up.
What you got up there, Will?
Old man's beard, a lot of it. We're like rich.
What you gonna do with that?
I'm probably gonna put out all these freaking cuts I have. This tree. I've got a little blood coming. So I'll probably use it for that, honestly.
Right, so one of the things is never pass up a resource. And Will found a lot of old man's beard. All right, he's dropping it down on me. No. Yeah, old man's beard, lots of medicinal uses. A pretty decent tinder for getting a fire started. It's a lichen, and most lichens are edible, believe it or not. You coming down, Will?
We'll do a quick video on and explain this so they can hear. If you can come over and kind of see I'm stepping on where this originates.
So what we're doing here, right? Will's going to be descending the tree, and notice how he keeps his foot at the base of the branch. That's going to be its strongest point. If he goes out, you're going to have that. So that's why as he's descending or ascending, either way, he's keeping his feet at the base of the branch.
And let them know I rarely ever put 100% of my weight on one branch. If I'm stepping on it, I'm holding on to a branch with like utmost security. And once I feel it's safe, then I'll start shifting more weight.
He's trying to adjust, calibrate the amount of body weight that he's putting on these branches because he doesn't want them breaking. Unless absolutely necessary, do not put 100% of your body weight on one contact point. What did you see, Will?
Nothing, except for sycamore. So we got some sycamore about 10 degrees left of this. So I know about 10 degrees to the left is where we need to head.
We can use that in the morning when we effect self-rescue. So yeah, we have a reference point in the morning. We couldn't hear the river. Will closed his eyes, tried to listen, couldn't hear nothing. But he did see a stand of sycamores. So we know there's water in that direction. And we had